Hello everyone! Today is another one of those fun days where I just do a random video for stuff, and this one is the BookTube Newbie Tag. For those of you who don't know, BookTube is anything on YouTube that involves books. Usually that's a series of videos or a whole channel. In my case, it's a channel, as it tends to be for a lot of people. And Newbie Tag because I'm still relatively new to all of this. There are 10 questions for this tag. I might throw in another odd thing here and there when I feel it's appropriate, but for the most part, we're gonna follow along with this. So, question number 1 is, why did you start this channel? I started the channel, honestly, to share my love of reading and books with people. I think that's the reason why most people start a channel like this. It's pretty cool to just be able to share that kind of stuff with people, and not everyone knows someone in real life who has the same kind of hobby they do. I know I don't know too many people that play video games, for example. For books, it's more common to find someone that reads books in general, maybe not necessarily in your genre or whatever, but what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? So far as I'm aware, I'm the only person I've seen on YouTube so far in terms of BookTube channels that focuses on vampire fiction primarily. There is another channel I've seen when I do a quick search that is this YouTuber. I don't remember if I mentioned her in a video or not before, but her channel is called Maven of the Eventide, and she does reviews for just vampire entertainment in general. Usually it's like TV shows or movies, but she will tackle books. Sometimes it's video games too. And, but for her it's all forms of vampire media, whereas for me it's just book related. What are you most excited for about this new channel? I'll echo what I said in question 1, is just being able to share my love of books and the type of books that I read. It's great to be able to just kind of get an idea to have a sense of community, to meet people who have similar interests. Why do you love reading? I love reading. And I think my sister would say the same thing if she were asked, because my parents, my mom and my dad, and by extension my grandparents, my paternal grandparents, they were all very avid readers. They've always read books. Like my grandfather used to love reading westerns and science fiction primarily, though he did read fantasy from time to time. My father was very much into comic books, but he read a lot of fantasy and science fiction. My mother was all over the place. She'd read nonfiction, fiction, basically anything that caught her interest. So my sister and I, we were always encouraged to read. What book series got you into reading? There's a few that come up off the top of my head, but I don't know if I remember far enough back if they were the first, but I'll rhyme off a few. I remember being very into Goosebumps when I was a child. I also really liked to read the Babysitter's Club books when I was a kid. They were a series of books published by Scholastic. And fun fact, I actually, at one point, used to be actually trained and certified as a babysitter. I remember reading The Black Pearl. That was a good book. I remember enjoying that one. But any one of those could have sparked my interest in reading. Where do you read? I can read anywhere I'm able to tune everything out, or anywhere I'm able to get some nice peace and quiet. If I don't find a place that's relatively quiet-ish, I'll usually put music in my ears to tune out other things, and I'm used to tuning out music to a certain degree, just nice background noise. It helps me focus on a lot of things, so that's generally what I would do. What kinds of books do you read? I mean, you guys already know I read vampire novels, but I also have been an avid reader of fantasy for years. I'll occasionally read sci-fi, and now that I've started reading vampire novels, I'll read horror sometimes too. And very rarely I'll read like some other literary fiction or nonfiction, but that is really rare. Like, it has to really seriously stand out to me for me to want to read it. There's like one case of a book that I was forced to read during school that I actually do remember liking, but that's like one out of how many cases? So before I continue on with the last couple of questions, I'll add a couple other things in here that I feel are relevant to the topic of this video, the subject matter of the video. I am very picky about the format of the books that I collect and read. Very picky. So I won't listen to audiobooks, for example, because I'm used to, when I plug something into my ears, if I don't have a visual aid of some kind, I'm used to tuning it out because it's there more as just a pleasant background noise to help me, to help boost me on a creative level. So if I'm reading, I'll sometimes, like I just said, I'll sometimes put music in. I'll do that a lot for writing as well. Sometimes I can function with no music or background noise of some other kind, but usually music is my go-to for that. But it makes it hard for audiobooks because I have a particular way that I picture things in terms of how the characters talk, how they sound, the environment and stuff. And aside from the risk of tuning it out, like, I'd probably have to experiment with that a little bit. I don't know if I would, if I had, like, the book in hand and the audiobook, if that will work, but I also have a particular pace that I read at, too, and sometimes I have to backtrack because I have to reread the same thing over again because that's just how my brain works. Ebooks, I can read ebooks. It's entirely possible for me to, but I tend to not do that because I find reading content written by other people on a screen is actually hard for me to do. I don't remember as much. It doesn't register in my head as easily. And so I end up having to like reread whole sections or chapters even more so than I do when I'm actually reading in person. It gets really annoying after a while. So if I'm writing my own stuff and reading my own stuff, that's one thing, because a lot of it's already in my head. But if it's someone else's, I'm much better off having an actual physical book in hand, or else it gets really problematic. And then for physical books, I'm very particular with that too. Oh boy. I prefer paperbacks, personally. Partially because they are usually at least a little bit smaller, so they don't take up as much room on the bookshelf. And they don't cost as much as hardcover books. And they are more durable as well. I've always preferred paperbacks. Maybe it's also because of how they feel. Might be the texture of them too, maybe. I don't know. I will buy a hardcover if it's the only version of the book available, but the vast majority of books out there, if it's been out long enough, then the paperback will be released within like 6 months to a year, and I don't need to worry about buying a hardcover book. So I don't even buy hardcover books for the purpose of display purposes, with very rare exceptions. I don't bother with that. Like, if I'm going to buy a book, I buy it to read, not to just display on my bookshelf. You know what I mean? And then when it comes to displaying my books, especially if it's a series, like if it's a standalone, I don't care. I'll just buy a random paperback edition of it and just throw it onto my shelf, and it doesn't matter to me. But if it's a series, I have to have every single book in that series in the exact same edition, exact same style, and it all has to be together on the shelf. I had an edition of the Harry Potter books in my stuff that I got rid of recently because I only had like the first 3 books out of 7, and by the time I actually got around to going, oh, I should probably buy the rest of these books, they weren't making that edition anymore, and I only had 3 books. It was like, well, shit. Now I gotta get rid of these because any other version of that book I buy now is not gonna match. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I don't know about questions, but there is one question for sure I would bring up, and that is, how do you read so fast? Like, I I can only read so quick before I stop registering what I'm reading, and then I have to backtrack, and I just do that by accident under normal circumstances. I can't imagine reading like 15 to 20 books in a month. Like, even 5 is like pushing it for me. Like 5 is like the most I can do, and that's only if I have like a couple longer ones and then like a couple shorter ones. Like right now I'm reading a novel, a short story collection, and 2 manga for a total of 4 at the moment, and I'll get them all done by the end of the month if I'm lucky. But like, the only reason why I'd be getting more than that done is because the manga doesn't take very long to read. Otherwise, if they were all novels, oh my gosh, good luck trying to get them all done in a month. There's no way. And finally, what challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I'm not really sure how I would answer this question, because I'm doing this just for the sake of doing it, really. I knew I wanted to do a YouTube channel for a while. Originally, I was going to do one for gaming, but the whole gaming YouTube side of things is so saturated right now, and my computer's not strong enough to be able to handle both recording or streaming along with a game at the same time. So if I did that, I would have to go and just record from my console, and even then it'd be like, good luck trying to get seen when like millions of other people are doing the same damn thing. BookTube and AuthorTube are still kinda newish, and there are people who do it, but it's not quite as saturated as the gaming side of things. So it's, I think, easier to get started in the BookTube side of things, especially since so many people love reading books. And if you find someone who really vibes with you, you really like their personality, you really like how they present themselves, you really like what they read, well, even not necessarily what they read, because I've, one of the booktubers I watch, like, she reads a little bit of everything, basically, so there's only, like, a chance that what she's reading is something I'd want to pick up, but I still really like her as a person, so I still keep watching her videos, even if it's for a book I'm not particularly interested in, which is cool. So, having been said that, I would probably say that the biggest challenge would be to come across in a way that is genuine and just to be someone that people want to watch, you know? Like, that's probably the biggest thing. And from what I heard from other YouTubers before, it's just like, just be yourself, just be normal, just be natural. I mean, I'm being normal and natural for this video right now. I didn't even do a script up for this. I mean, I was doing a tag. There was no point in doing a script up for this. But yeah, this is not, what you see in here is not much different from what I am in real life, really. So, that's about as natural as I can get. Anyway, thank you for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. All my socials are in the description below, and I will see you next week. Bye!